Sorry about that, babe.
Alright guys, the no-death walkthrough guide for American Tail, Fievel Goes West on the SNES. This is a game that I had in my childhood collection. I covered it early on my channel's lifespan, and I felt like it was time to recover it, and also beat it without dying. Not the hardest game, but there are some spots where it's very, very easy to die, if that makes sense. The game itself is easy, you get lots of lives, but beating it without dying, it can be a little tricky. The total practice time and runs and all that kind of stuff, obviously not straight through every day, but on and off for about 3 days is how long this one took me. The middle of the game is definitely the easiest part to die. But anyway, first level's fairly standard. Lots of power-ups, there's hearts, there's no insta-death pitfalls. You saw the mechanic there of using the water gun to put out the fires. It's going to be more important in this screen right here, where this is one of the few screens in the game where there are pitfalls, so be careful. Also briefly, the last level, if you will, or last screen, you can go up top, but I choose to go on the bottom, but either way, you can kind of get through that unabated. Now back to this one. So, we're just kind of working our way to the right here. We got our water gun, avoiding hazards. We don't want to get hit, you know what I mean? Not really going to be in danger of dying, but this section coming up here, if you're not careful, it's an insta-death. And it takes a little bit to get used to as far as the controls and the jumping. They're fairly tight and standard, but you know what I mean. First time you play the game, you might not really know the trajectories and stuff like that, so just be careful. My advice here is just to go as slow as possible, essentially. I'm going a little bit faster at this point because I think this was like my fourth recorded attempt at the run and I was starting to get annoyed. But yeah, and the next section all you have to do is just kind of jump over the top and jump down into the pipe. And the first stage, again New York City, is the shortest. We're about to go into the boss battle already. This is against One Eye. The strats are fairly standard for all bosses. Basically, try to aim for the head for the most part. He has some invulnerability, like when he's jumping, I noticed. Like after he jumps and while he jumps, most of the time he can't be hit. And when he jumps onto the ground, those things fall from the ceiling. This was really sloppy, by the way. I was just trying to get a quick kill. If you give yourself a little bit more distance and just avoid the things falling from the ceiling, you should be fine there and probably only get hit once or not at all. But that's pretty much it for the first stage. It's a fairly simple stage. I beat this stage numerous times as a kid. The only stages that I wasn't able to beat as a kid were stages 3 and beyond. Yeah, really not too much to say there in terms of strategy. Easiest place to die is that pitfall area, so just be careful there. Now we move on to the sewers, which I think we start seeing some of the flaws with the game here, but this isn't a review, I'll cover that more later. Many of these screens are basically the same thing. They just kind of changed slightly. So you can stay in the floating boat device or tin can, whatever it is. That's like the intended way to get through the level, but I find that it's just easier for me personally to jump out and walk and swim towards the bottom. Those dogfish are definitely the biggest pains in the rear end as far as enemies go in this section. There's also currents and tides, which you can kind of see me getting pulled in different directions. That can be a bit of a pain. Got to make sure that you mash the button appropriately when you go over the areas where there's no bottom, because you can die there. But yeah, pretty much rinse and repeat. See me just jumping out. The next screen after this is very similar. So, just trying to be mindful of shooting the dogfish, mindful of continuing to move forward. And now you saw some added stuff like these spikes on the bottom, which you got to avoid as well, otherwise you can get hit. Now the good thing is, fairly evenly spaced out in the later levels are well-timed hearts, as well as a heart upgrade, which is good because the boss of this stage can be a little bit annoying, if we're being honest, but... Alright, there you can see we're through 2 screens already, and the third screen's going to be fairly similar. I just mixed up fairly and very, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. The one thing that I will say though, the dogfish, they are more jumpy after the first screen, so be wary of that. That's a tough section too. Basically the game triggers the dogfish appearing as soon as you go over those 2 spikes. So I usually just try to mash the shoot button, which I believe is Y. But if you get hit, no worries. You can go up here and grab a heart. I like to go back the way that I came, because if you fall forward, you might end up falling into a spike or a dogfish. So I like to go backwards to kind of reset myself on my path. Now I do have the official manual. I did the unboxing the other day. I put it away though, so I'm assuming they're called dogfish. I think they're actually like named in the manual, but they literally look like dogs and fish mixed together, so. Alright, now the screens switch a little bit. We're gonna have 2 of these, where there's like solid ground and water. Those spikes at the bottom, they don't instantly hurt you, which is great. They're fairly similar to the cacti that come up in the desert level, which is stage 4. Basically, you can keep mashing the jump button and you won't get hurt unless you fall too far down. So keep that in mind, you're not instantly going to get hurt if you touch those. Since I did lose a heart there, I want to be a little bit careful. Thankfully, as you can see, you get the invincibility star, which allows you some free reign to just kind of move forward. All these enemies die with 1 hit, which is great. And here, we can get a heart. I like to execute that particular jump to land on the ladder, because if you don't, you can end up getting hit by one of the enemies below. And there you saw an instance of how far down I was, and I didn't get hurt by those spikes, so again, don't freak out about those spikes. As long as you continue, you know, pressing jump and moving forward, you should be fine. And this is the last screen before the boss fight. Most important thing about this screen, again, fairly similar to the last area, except there's a little bit more like tide and barrel mechanics, but there is a big heart which upgrades your total overall health, also replenishes your health entirely. So, pretty important because the boss that's coming up after this screen could be quite annoying at times. And there you can see it. Now we have 4, and I believe it goes up to a total of 5. I don't know the items inside and out with this game, so there might be stuff that I miss. Obviously I don't need 1-ups, so I'm not going to go out of my way to get those, but just letting you guys know that there's actually a heart back there, I think. I passed by, obviously I didn't need it because I didn't need it. But there is a heart back there, so. Alright, now it's boss time. What is this boss's name? I think it's just Puppet. Yeah, Puppet. I forgot that it introduces them. But there you can see, when you hit Puppet, all those things that are falling out of him, they hurt you. Luckily, the game is kind enough to gift you a invincibility there, which all you have to do is stand on that block and you'll continue to hit Puppet. Same strats though, just kind of aim for the head. It seems like after he shoots the one ball out of his mouth, that's when you can hit him. He's a little bit invulnerable at times, but overall, guys, not too bad. Again, kind of, as long as you have full health going into it, especially if you have the 4 hearts, you'll be fine. Alright, now we're moving on to stage 3, which is definitely, I would say honestly, the hardest levels in the game, because they require a bit of knowledge and a bit of fast twitch reflexes. So it's technically called Train, but the first 2 screens leading up to it are in the carts. You will have cats appear from behind, which you see me shooting. As long as you keep moving forward for the most part in the carts, you won't have any issues with pitfalls or anything like that, but you also have to be wary here of these boulders. They typically fall down and chase you after you pass them. So you can see me going full speed and going over the pitfall with no issues and making sure all the while that I'm shooting back at the big cats. Now the reason why these levels are annoying are, well, this one in particular, there is no health upgrade or heart in general. So you got to be very careful. This one I like to go, as you can see, basically on top of the cart. It falls a little bit differently than the other two. And this is going to be the trickiest enemy coming up here before the end. Sometimes I can't hit him. As you can see, I shot the cart, but luckily he did not fire at me. It seems to be a bit RNG based, but just remember, go full speed and fire behind you in that level, and watch out for the boulders. Those are the 3 tips. Now this one's a little bit different. It has similar structure, but you'll see. So that was funny. Okay, so I didn't go full speed there because I was trying to shoot the cat, and that was a mistake. That was the first time that ever happened to me, but you could see basically even if you don't go full speed, you probably won't fall down and die, which is good. But always go full speed, guys. And right there, as you can see, I jumped over and shot the enemy, which is something that you could do. That seems to be RNG based to me as well. I've had numerous times where I'm still in the cart right now, and I've had numerous times where that happened. So if you're in the cart, just keep going full speed and aim behind, and if you're out of the cart like I was, jump over the enemy and shoot him. This section is pretty much straight up walking. But there should be an enemy coming. Yep. So you're going to want to jump over him, of course. Now we're back in the cart, and I think this section, if I remember correctly, is just straight up carting. Yep. Okay. So now be wary of this enemy coming from the front, and you're probably wondering, why'd you go backwards? It's because I forgot. I forgot about that enemy there, but after the cart segment where there's no enemies, there's going to be an enemy coming from forward. Here's the only heart, I think, in the entire area. So what I did there to execute that was I jumped and grabbed the heart, and then I shot at the apex of my jump, and it pretty much always kills that enemy. But even if you do get hit by the enemy, thankfully the heart was there, so you should have at least 2 hearts probably, at the worst. Now we're onto the actual train segment. Now, there's differing pathing. You can go on the top. I choose to go on the bottom mostly. You have more cats. The difference is with those cats are they shoot 2 projectiles. And then you also have the introduction of these birds, which is a precursor to the desert stage, which comes after the train. There you saw the double fire. My strategy here is to be as slow and methodical as possible. I would like to try to shoot those vultures or whatever they are, because they can be a bit of a pain. So I like to go very slow. There I just jump over, it's just easier that way. And much like the spikes in the sewer level, those falling platforms, you have plenty of opportunity as long as you're not just like standing there doing nothing. As long as you keep jumping, you'll be fine. And here we have an invincibility, so we're going to do our best to move forward. There you also saw a heart. I believe there's another spot with a heart if you need it. If you climb up one of the ladders, I think it might have been either the one that I just passed or the one coming up. We're being methodical here. There you can see we're being tailed from behind. And if you go up, I think it's if you go up there. Yeah, if you go up here, which I'm struggling, there is a heart. Oh, nope, I was kidding. Sorry about that. It was on the last train, the last segment of the train. But not a big deal, guys. If you have 2 hearts, you should be able to beat this boss. But yeah, it was the segment train before that, the first ladder. If you go up, there was a heart there, and I apologize for not pointing that out. But at the time, I either just didn't need it or I forgot about it. But now we have the spider. Now this boss is actually quite annoying. I think this boss is named like Chula or something? But you can see why this boss is annoying. There's these barrels that kind of keep moving as the train shakes. He shoots projectiles at you, and those spider eggs, they hatch spiders. So my advice, shoot him as much as possible when he's on the screen. Sometimes he can kind of troll you and go off screen and go above, but if those spiders start falling down, you could jump on top of them to get like more height to shoot the boss. But ultimately I find it to be easier to just shoot the spiders because that's one less thing that could hurt you. You could also jump on those boxes on the left and right side of the screen to get more height, again, to shoot Chula. And Chula is very RNG heavy as well. It seems like it's predetermined before you go into the boss how Chula is going to start. Sometimes Chula could charge straight at you, and sometimes Chula goes to the right, and I find if Chula goes to the right, it's a little bit easier. You can get a couple shots in before the boss battle even really begins. Anyway, enough about Chula. On to stage 4, the desert. And there is a pitfall, and there's also a pitfall coming up towards the tail end of this level. You gotta watch out for. The cacti are very similar to the things in the sewer, where you just gotta keep jumping and moving. If you wait too long, the pricklers on the cacti hurt you. The vultures like to go on top of them and then kind of fly back and forth unless you shoot them. I don't advise shooting these worm enemies because they break apart. So yeah, wouldn't really advise it. I would just avoid them if I were you. And yeah, just stay methodical here, guys. I was a little too methodical there and I got hurt for it, but as you see, there was a heart, which is great. And be careful there. That is a beginner's trap. You're gonna want to just jump straight over it and then you'll land into the pitfall, which is no good. Now, this segment could be very annoying. Similar to the last one, except instead of those centipede guys, you have scorpions that basically throw homing projectiles at you. Or not homing, more like boomerang. But they can be pretty annoying because they purposefully built the landscape where it's hard to shoot it unless you're in a certain spot. So again, my general advice, slow and steady wins the race. Another thing you're gonna have to keep in mind when you're jumping over the cacti, if an enemy's down there, he might be throwing his pincer thing at you. So if he is, you might have to play a little bit of footsie, so to speak, by jumping up and down on the cactus. You'll see a little bit later, but yeah, we're getting hit a lot here. This is a tough level. This is probably the first or second easiest level to die. Whoo, that was so close, I remember that. But I'm just trying to kill this guy so I could focus on getting over the cactus. I'm being very methodical at this point. As you can see, I stopped there to make sure that the enemy wasn't coming close, which there was no enemy. Now this one, you just have to jump over the cacti, from cacti to cacti. Now I realize I keep saying cacti. I mean, it's sort of plural. I guess I could say from cactus to cactus. Jumping over the cacti would be the correct term, but anyway. Yeah, we only have one hit left, so we're just, like, I was shitting myself right here, to be honest with you. And there is an instance of the enemies below, so I'm going to keep jumping. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see, and now you know the enemy's close, so we're going to continue to jump and wait until he's further away. Now we're going to go down. That was tricky, though. We were caught in a crappy scorpion pattern there. But luckily, when you see those 4 coins, guys, you're at the end, and now it's on to the final segment of the desert before the boss, which is a nighttime segment. This one's probably the easiest one of the bunch, but we only have 1 hit going into this, which isn't great. So we have to be very careful. These guys take 3 shots. And there are going to be vultures once again. So we're being very, very careful here. The good news is the boss is ridiculously easy. You literally only need 1 heart to beat the boss. But we're still going to obviously take our time here. And thank goodness we get a heart and we get a invincibility. Like I said, this segment's definitely the easiest of the 3 in my opinion. You know, I went onto this segment on death's door, so to speak, and we're gonna be fine. Take your time here. Again, 3 shots for these guys. You're going to want to jump up and down in the quicksand. We're actually like almost done with the level. This is a tricky spot though. You're going to want to take out this vulture just to make things easier. Because you got to do some cactus to cactus jumping. And that's it, guys. On to the boss, which... Can't recall what the boss's name is. We'll see after this level. It's probably just Vulture or something like that. So the strat here is to go over to the right and wait for the boss to appear on screen, and then you just pretty much start pelting the boss from behind. Pause. And if you're good enough, you could actually one-cycle him. I've done it before a couple times, but here we don't, which is not a big deal. You can kind of see him getting pushed back by I don't know if it's wind or just his wings fluttering, but anyway. Similar strat here, you're just going to move a little bit further forward. Boss comes back on the screen, and if you jump up and shoot the boss once or twice, the boss should be dead, assuming you didn't, you know, take your sweet time during the first phase. Now, don't fret, you fall down, that's just part of the cinematics, and now the desert stage is over. What was the boss called? Let's see. Hawk. Okay, so kept saying Vulture, it was Hawk. Sue me. Alright, now on to stage 5, which in my opinion is actually pretty freaking easy. Other than the first stage, stage 5 is about as easy as stage 2, possibly even easier. Stage 3 and 4 are definitely the hardest. The main strat of stage 5 is just basically being patient and grabbing your items. It's really not that bad. You could avoid a lot of the tougher enemies too, almost completely. One thing I actually learned, I didn't realize it before, there's gonna be falling boulders that come at you. You could shoot them and they break up. Now these snakes have weird hitboxes. You kind of have to shoot their head and they go up and down, as you can see, so just be careful there. There we got an upgrade, which is good. And there you see, you were able to shoot the boulders, whether it's big or small, so that's pretty cool. Definitely something to keep in mind. You can jump over most of them, but once in a while it might just be easier to blow them up. And at this point I'm being very careful because I'm so close to the end of the run that I don't want to screw anything up. And typically I take the path south, except I am going to go up here because there is an item that I want. Didn't want to get hit by the boulders, of course, and we grabbed our invincibility. That is a secret item up top there. I believe it contains a 1-up, which we don't need for this run. It's fine. We're going to move as right as possible with our invincibility. And we are at the end of the first screen. There's actually only going to be one more screen until the final boss screen, which is an interesting one. We'll explain that more later when we get there. So this level is fairly similar, except we're going to be getting hit by wheels, which could be shot backward. And you could also jump on top of them, but if they hit you horizontally, like on the ground or whatever, they do hurt you. But you're going to see me go low here most of the time. I got shot there twice by the enemy's projectiles, but don't fret. This area is filled with lots of hearts. I didn't know that the enemy was going to be able to shoot me from there, to be honest with you. That's kind of why that happened. So be wary of him. He takes 2 shots, by the way. Not a 1-shot and done guy. There you can see more pathing up top, which is a pretty typical thing in Fievel Goes West, but I like to stay towards the bottom most of the time. I just find it to be a little bit easier and a little bit more consistent. Picking up the invincibility, we're just going to kind of go forward here. No particular reason why I went up top, by the way. I just did it. Alright, more instances of hearts. Just be careful of projectiles and these wheels. We got invincibility. There's going to be, 2 hearts there, so all is well. Keep moving forward. I think there might be another heart there, too, in one of those 3 items. We're just going to keep pushing forward and shooting the wheels. I believe the wheels actually hurt the enemies, too, which is great. And now we are on the last screen of the game, which is very, very short. You could actually just go into the saloon immediately and head towards the boss, but we're not going to do that. Because I didn't realize this until a few run attempts ago. If you go up top, you can get a health upgrade. Now don't get me wrong here, the final boss is not that difficult, but better safe than sorry. We're literally on the last screen and stage of the game, so. I was being a little overly cautious there. I wanted to kill that enemy and go left, but I ended up getting shot, which kind of sucks, so it sort of defeated the purpose of me getting it, but wanted to show you guys that anyway. Here, I like to take care of all these snakes. I'm not positive, but I feel like they stick around if you don't kill them, and ultimately you end up fighting the boss on each one of these floors. So just take your time and shoot the snakes. This one's a little tricky. Gotta time it so it doesn't fall through the hole. And the one on the top segment of this ladder or stairs is a little weird as well, so just be careful. And now it's boss time. Boss is really easy. You jump on the hat, and when the hat's off the head, you shoot the head. And in some instances, you don't even need to jump on the hat because you could jump on the tables below. And after you hit him a few times, he falls down until eventually he reaches the bottom floor and he has more hits there, but you just pretty much follow him down. Again, same stuff. You can get 2 to 3 hits fairly consistently from the hat. And I'm just being a little careful here because, again, I don't want to die at this point. Alright, now he's going to be on the bottom floor, so we're going to go through a hole. And he takes, like, I think he takes 5 or 6 hits down here. What's that? 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I got 6 in. And that's it, guys. That's An American Tail, Fievel Goes West, no death. Hopefully you enjoyed this playthrough. Hopefully this inspired you to play it yourself. And hopefully if you choose to do this game no death, that you picked up a strategy or 2 from this video. There's definitely a few, like I said, items here and there that I didn't pick up. If you're doing a casual playthrough, I definitely skipped over a lot of 1-ups, but I feel like the path that I took here is pretty good and should be able to get you through the game one way or another. So if you did enjoy this video, guys, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next, probably the next Fievel Goes West video. Take care.